All right, so you probably have heard Sony's dropping some firmware that's going to improve the Sony FX30, the FX6, and the FX3. Now, I actually purchased a Sony FX30 for a few reasons, and I'm excited that Sony's giving us some software updates, but I'm also a little disappointed. And I'm not going to read you off exactly what the firmware updates do. There's a ton of other videos of people doing that. Okay, so I lied. Different day, obviously things changed a little bit, but I am going to read you the specs of what they're changing on the firmwares. Now, it's important for you to know that a lot of these software updates are not coming till September 2024, which is quite a ways away if you're watching this when I'm making this in January, February. But realistically, we want to answer a question that's probably on your mind. Should you buy a Sony camera in 2024? Or should you go with another option, like a competitor? So we're gonna figure that out together. So it's kind of random for Sony to be announcing this type of update so far away. So here's the boring firmware part. We're getting shutter angle. We're getting shutter angle so you can change your shutter post-production if you got the wrong frame rate. We got clip flags for shot marking, which I think is great because there's a lot of times where I'm shooting a lot of footage and I don't want to forget, I don't want to write down on my notes what I took that was good. So this is a good reminder option. We're getting enhanced live stream capabilities via the Sony Creator app. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like right now, but I like the idea of live streaming with my full frame camera or my crop sensor camera. Obviously, it's going to give me a really good image. It's not something I've tested yet, but it's on my to-do list for 2024. So that's a welcome addition. Also, you can already do this really well without the Creator app, so who knows how good it is. Specifically, the F6 is getting a special anamorphic de-squeeze option. They're also getting like a 3D LUT to give it more of a Venice aesthetic, which obviously who doesn't want their camera to look more cinematic, a la Venice. We're getting waveform and false color inside the Sony Monitor app, which is a great app. If you don't use it, instead of buying an external monitor, you can use an old phone you have laying around. And last but not least, we're getting focus breathing compensation. Now, certain Sony FX cameras already have this. It's just an improved version or for more lenses. So if you're asking why I read you the specs, it's because I want to make it clear. None of these features are game changers and it feels kind of stale. And I started thinking, if we look back at Sony's 2023, they dropped a lot of cameras. And it's like they're trying to be competitive, but there's a lot of competition. They dropped the Sony A7C II, the Sony A7C2R, the ZV-1F Mark II, the ZV-E10, the ZV-1. They dropped like 4 or 5 cameras. And now what are they supposed to do in 2024? Just ride that hype? Somebody didn't make a good decision. They should have kept some of those cameras out of the 4 or 5 that they released for 2024 to keep consumers interested. Because as much as I love Sony, my whole channel is built off of a Sony A7C. That's what you're watching me on right now. And I've got a Sony FX30 floating around as well. The competition is dropping some really nice alternatives. So let's answer that question. If you're a new creator in 2024 and you wanted to invest in one of these systems, a new camera system for video, for audio, how far can you stretch? $1,000. That's the limit we're gonna set. Now I know $1,000 seems kind of high. I have some other videos talking about what you should do for your YouTube setup, but $1,000 is 100% a reasonable starting amount to get decent photo, video, lighting in a setup. Yes, you can do this with less than $1,000, especially if you buy in the used market. So I'm gonna give you $1,000 budget with a Sony camera and then $1,000 budget with another competitor. So let's go through the Sony system first. Or you know what? Let's make this interesting. Let's go with the DJI solution first. Now, right now, DJI is selling the Pocket Osmo 3, the creator kit. I think it's about $670, and it essentially is giving you, let's say after tax, $700. You're getting a really nice camera with depth of field and good low light performance. If you get the creator kit, you're getting a mic. I'm charging mine right now. Like this 32 capable float audio, which is game changer. And it's a gimbal. It's small, it's lightweight, it's compact, $770 all in. You get a camera, you get a microphone, that's great, and you get a gimbal. That's like a no-brainer for new creators. If you want to shoot content outside, vlogging, if you want to shoot street interviews, even if you wanted to do talking head videos like this right now, you can pull it off with that camera. And Sony has nothing that competes with this. I'm currently waiting for DJI to send me a Pocket Osmo 3, hopefully, fingers crossed, and I'll show you what this potential setup would look like compared to this. So the capability to get smooth, nice B-roll footage, the opportunity to have a camera that tracks you, do talking head videos, or even connect 2 different mics if you wanted to, is right there. Now let's check out Sony's solution in that $1,000 price point. Now the camera you would have to go for is the Sony ZV-1F. There's a couple different Sony versions of this camera you can get, but we want to get a camera system that's all in, so lens included. The Sony ZV-1F is going to run you about $500. $500, it's a nice camera. I had one, I used it, I loved it. It's very creator friendly. Next, you're gonna have to get a mic. I personally think that you should go with the DJI Mic 2, the $220 kit, which just comes with the mic and the receiver. So that way you can get nice professional audio. And then let's say you wanted a gimbal to get smooth B-roll footage, not handheld shaky stuff. You'd have to get the Zhiyun Crane M2. You add that all up and you're at $900, just about. So you've got the ZV-1F, the DJI Mic 2 with the receiver combo, the Zhiyun Crane, and then a tripod. I guess you don't need the tripod if you have the Zhiyun Crane, but the fact is that you have this big, bulky setup for shooting content, or you have this nice pocket DJI Osmo 3. And now you probably understand what I'm talking about, where Sony kind of made a mistake. Sony's been so invested and so dominant in this specific type of market that they've overlooked the ability to have a small, lightweight portable camera. In 2024, this is their biggest area of opportunity. Now, I don't think they're capable of dropping a new camera that kind of competes with the Pocket Osmo 3. Sony's got a tough year for them. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that people are not going to invest in Sony cameras. If you want really nice professional images, Sony is still a great solution. This isn't to disregard any other brands. I can make one of these for Canon as well. In an alternate universe, I started my channel with a Canon camera. So yeah, Sony, if you're watching this, thank you for the firmware updates. Please give more firmware updates to other cameras. Your older cameras are still great. So let's recap. First things first, if you want to buy a Sony camera in 2024, try to buy used. Buying used will save you a lot of money. Second thing is that if you want to live in 2025, like the future of content creation, maybe the DJI Pocket Osmo 3 is a better option for you. Look into that. I don't have the camera yet, but stay tuned. And of course, if you agree, you can leave your comments. And if you don't, comment there too, because maybe it helps the algorithm. I don't know. And I purchased this camera because I wanted a high-end camera to produce better videos. But something happened. Even though I had this cinema camera and I don't really care about some of the cinema features, I find myself using my Sony a7C way more than my Sony FX30. And I'm not talking about the new Sony a7C. I'm talking about the first gen, the old Sony a7C. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a full frame compact mirrorless camera. And it's awesome. It takes great image. It takes great video. And the price is comparable to the Sony FX30. So in my logic, I thought I'd sell the Sony a7C, pick up a Sony FX30 and I'd be happy. But by the time I put it on eBay, it was a holiday season, somebody bought it, they never paid. I ended up keeping the Sony a7C and I'm kind of glad that I did. See, a lot of people are swayed into buying the latest and the greatest tech, when the truth is that some of the older models, the Sony bodies, do an amazing job too. And that's what I've discovered. I've discovered that Sony has a propensity to create a great product, then not support that product, and then push a new product. And this isn't against Sony, because I love Sony as a company. Again, my YouTube channel is built on the back of Sony and also my hard work. But they do provide amazing equipment and amazing gear. That being said, we can speculate some things about future Sony products as well. Even though we're promised an update for this guy that gives us shutter angle, more live streaming capabilities, anamorphic D-squeeze for, I think, the FX6 at least, not the FX30. Maybe the FX30. I didn't read the press release. If you're interested in buying one of these cameras and you're making short films, this might be for you. This is the right camera for you. But if you're trying to produce videos like this, talking head videos, just you in a studio with your XLR microphone, there are some cheaper solutions that don't break the bank, like my Sony a7C, which you can probably find used on Facebook Marketplace for the low. So yeah, this video was a little bit of a personal rant. I just want to share how I was feeling, and it was kind of trying to talk about the firmware update for these Sony cameras. Hopefully this information helped you in your buying decision, if you're interested in buying a camera, and if you're waiting to buy this camera because of the firmware update, check out my channel for other solutions that I have about video and audio stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.